you think that you go and you see somebody with a problem where you are wanting to get the practical solutions to solve that problem, but because it is not hitting a certain indicator,
That's
you're not
true.
you're not being taken serious. And then until we see, or until we're told that they are on the bridge wanting to jump off, that is when we make all the the resources available to prevent that. But the biggest myth is that suicide comes out of nowhere. That is one of the biggest lies and myth we keep telling ourselves. As much as social media is good and it's got its good side, the downsides are also very dark, and we can't neglect that. Loneliness is one of the biggest hidden treasures, and I call it hidden because it's disguised.
Every young life is precious, yet more and more young people are struggling in silence.
Yes.
Some feel overwhelmed, hopeless, and
Yes.
believe there is no way out.
Absolutely.
What are the warning signs? How can parents, teachers, churches, and friends recognize when someone needs help? And what can we do to offer hope before it is too late? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wisdom for Exploit. I am your host, Bola Amore. Joining me today is Araba Akue. She is a mental health nurse who will help us understand this important issue and share practical ways we can support our young people. Thank you so much. Welcome to this talk show. I'm so delighted to host you. How are you faring, ma?
Blessed and highly favored as always. And let me use this opportunity to also say a huge, massive thank you for inviting me onto your August platform to come and share, deliberate about what we can do in addressing this conundrum which is facing our community and also the world at large. I mean, we can never talk about this as an isolation, because we are all connected, and everything that is happening to us, the human race, collectively, rather than just always wanting to try to isolate or trying to take specific, I would say, cases out of the rest. Yes, it does make sense when you're trying to look at the statistics and trying to, but at the end of it all, it's the human race. It's the younger generation who is the future of the world, and it's need to be spoken about. We need to find solutions, and we need to, I would say, have more frequent conversation around this to create the awareness as well. We can't always have and hide things in secrecy. There's a saying which says you have to name a thing in order to shame it. So if you're not wanting to put a name on it, then what's going to happen? We can't hide in secrecy forever. So yeah, thank you so very much.
That's wonderful. I love that what you said. Thank you so much, Araba. Okay, as a mental health nurse, I know you as a mental health nurse. Could you tell me more about your professional journey?
So years and years ago, over some 20 years ago, I would say roughly between, I found myself in the United Kingdom after my mom had specifically said that before you move out, you need to get at least a first degree before you can move out of Ghana, where I grew up from. So that was exactly what I did. As a young woman, I studied really hard, got all my basic, first up until first degree qualification. Then I relocated to the United Kingdom with my certificates, not knowing what to do. But I knew that I had a certificate, I would say, was it a first in business management. And so I was coming to take the world on. That was how I landed over here. But when I got here, 2 years into me coming in here, I enrolled in a University of Greenwich. And then I did my first, I would say, postgraduate certificate in education, which is called PGCE. And that gave me the qualification once again to teach in secondary schools. I did, a PGCE qualification as qualified QTS registration. start teaching across United Kingdom, you know, oversubscribed, underperforming, been there, done that. So I was in that system for about 14 years. Then I hit a burnout situation. Prior to being a teacher, I had a backstory where I lost a very dear friend of mine growing up.
Mm.
And I didn't know at the time that was mental health.
Mm.
So it took me some time to recognize that my lovely dear friend was struggling with a mental health condition and we didn't know how to get help for that. I thought becoming a teacher would give me the opportunity to advise young children within that age bracket also not to make those mistakes, because we attributed it straight away to, you know, youthful exuberance, not being with the right people, and there were so many excuses, but nothing of mental health was mentioned in whatever led to her. And upon hindsight, I know that she had a mental health condition, an undiagnosed mental health condition, as a young Black African girl finding her feet in a foreign land. And that is, you know, that really hit home. I said, okay, so what are you going to do now that you just wanting to hang your boots for teaching? Because I'm not finding any joy. I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm not getting any kick, any satisfaction, any reward. I, you know, and about it, stayed home for about 2-3 years, and then enrolled right in the middle of COVID to train, get a master's qualification in mental health nursing. And here I am afterwards, you know, practicing and enjoying every bit of this journey. So, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. That's a wonderful journey. Thank you for sharing that. And I know sometimes in life things happen and that thing always trigger us, you know, to go for bigger things. And sometimes we not have joy in that particular profession, you know, we find ourselves doing. That's a real good one. And thank you once more for honoring this call. I'm so grateful.
No worries.
Okay, I know we're treating a very, very important topic this wonderful afternoon, the rising of suicide in young people. So, how serious is the rise in suicide risk among young people? And what does the latest evidence tell us about what is driving it?
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. And once again, this is a very sensitive topic. If you've just tuned in, we're saying that we're going to be sharing some rather sensitive information over here. And we would want you to get support if this actually hits home right to you. There is support available. Probably it might be dependent on where you're watching us from, but we are in the UK. We are coming to you today from the United Kingdom. So we know that although it doesn't all look, I would say, promising, but there is support as long as you ask. As long as you're asking, you're not going to be neglected. Support would be made available to you. Now, let's get to the magnitude of what we're talking about here, the scale of the rise. Suicide rates among children and young people in England rose by around 50% over the last decade. And the Office of National Statistics analysis of nearly 12 million young people aged 15 to 25 from 2011 to 2022 reported that 4,315 suicides over that period. With that, 440 young children alone were reported to have, you know, unalived or died through suicide between 2021 and 2022. And this is a staggering 47% increase from 300 deaths between 2011 to 2012. The suicide rate in young females under 25 also reached the highest record, and there has also been a significant increase among young men. So, suicide was the leading cause of death for young people between 5 to 35 years in England, and with around 3/4 being boys or young men. Now, therefore, most deaths among, 10 to 19-year-olds occurring also between this age bracket of 17 to 19 age brackets have
Mm.
also climbed staggeringly. And
Mm.
it is worrying, Mama.
It
Now, what
is.
is happening? Obviously, no single cause has been identified, but research on young people who died by suicide identified some stresses,
Mm.
including things like witnessing domestic violence,
Yeah.
bullying, certain self-injurious or self-harm behaviors by other young people, not getting the right bereavement support
Mm.
after they had also witnessed either a family member or somebody close to them dying through
Mm.
suicide itself.
Mm.
There are also certain statistics citing academic pressures
Mm.
and generally what is happening in the world as part of all, the pandemic, post pandemic, and all
Mm.
these things, as I would say, some indicators to what
Mm.
is happening now. But my main summary is it is not a one straight, I would say one fit all. There are different things which has really resulted in such staggering figures. So it is a little bit concerning.
It's true. Very. That's a massive figure. That is a massive figure. I remember during that pandemic, one guy like that. I had a story of a young boy from. I think the guy lived in East London, and he traveled down to Essex here in Epping and committed this what we're talking about. Actually, the parent did not know because he just said he's going to see his friend, and they find his corpse in the forest,
God.
in Epping.
Yeah.
So what happened when the investigation went on and they now came out and said, this guy's been struggling. He has sickle cell.
Mm.
Yeah. Then later on, he was struggling with the academic issue. So I don't know, because I know you mentioned, stress, bullying, sometimes even parent could be a bully.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes as the parent, we need to be very careful.
Absolutely.
We need to
And
be careful.
sorry, in addition to what you've said when you talk about academic figures as well, the
Mhm.
Office of National Statistics, one research also did mention that
Mhm.
the suicide rates are quite higher during the summer exams, because this
Mm.
is when they go through all their GCSEs, their A levels, and everything
Mhm.
else. And they're so anxious, and sometimes they can't handle the results. So
Mm.
around this period, it's quite higher. At the end of the academic year, when results, final results, and when people haven't actually done or excelled really well, all this comparison and everything else, peer pressure sets in very well, and it could exacerbate the condition. And then it has also been noted that the system or the rate drops significantly at the start of the academic system. So there might be something, we're onto something in there, especially during the summer period, because yeah, not only that, there are other factors as well when it comes to, and we don't say this because we see our children as young angels who wouldn't engage in, risky behaviors, including
Mm.
drug taking, drug
Mm.
and alcohol abuse. And sometimes there's a lot of factors here.
True.
My amazing convener. There's a lot of factors, but like I said, they are all little incidents. When we put it together, would give us this broad picture of what
Mm.
we are experiencing at the moment now. Also, on the backdrop of that is there is a system pressure of over 500,000 under 18-year-olds on the mental health waiting list who haven't gotten
Appointments.
exactly.
Wow.
Yes. And there is self-harm, which is worryingly spreading through the world like wildfire. Almost a third of 17 to 24-year-olds have self-harmed or attempted at some point. And this has also pushed the figure statistically to something within the region of 69.5 to 70% among people who have been identified or who are deemed to are struggling with one mental health condition or the other. So it's a good thing we're talking about this, and I pray that by the end of this conversation, we would all have identified one or two, I would say, symptomatic ways. We would come up with ways within which we can identify symptoms and also treat or help support people going through such struggles. I've always been of the school of thought that prevention is always better than cure. We always wait, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, but sometimes you think that you go and you see somebody with a problem where you are wanting to get the practical solutions to solve that problem, but because it is not hitting a certain indicator,
that's
you're not being taken serious. And then until we see or until we're told that they are on the bridge wanting to jump off, that is when we make all the the resources available to prevent that. But could we have actually intervened before they got onto the top of the bridge? I believe certainly so. We could have done something to have intervened. But this is the system. There are over 500 million under 18s waiting to be seen. They're on the waiting list, and it is real.
So even with them waiting on the waiting list, is there anything can parents, parent families, let's say mentors can do? Because when you were talking, something will just keep coming to my mind about peer pressure, because peer pressure is another thing that wasn't mentioned there. We know we have quite a lot of stuff, is it? We have all this panic, we have all this stress, bullying, bereavement and all those stuff. But what about peer pressure?
Yes, peer pressure is also part of this. We can't discuss anything without including peer pressure.
Peer pressure, yeah.
We can't talk about this without not just peer pressure, but with this, I would say, conundrum of the social media era we found ourselves in, where we are equating likes, people we haven't met. Sometimes, in some cases, it's even bots that are liking our videos, and we're trying to trans-equate them to mean that indeed these are the number of people that like me. No, so we need to live in realism alongside the social media era. We need to manage our expectations of what is real and what might not be, whilst we're actually in this era or in this space finding that, dopamine, or finding that adrenaline boost, seeking the approval that we need.
That's a good one. Okay, many people assume suicide happened without warning. What are the most common warning signs that families, teachers, and friends are often overlooked?
Thank you so much. The biggest myth is that suicide comes out of nowhere. That is one of the biggest lies and myth we keep telling ourselves. Oh, we didn't see it coming. Oh, we didn't see it. No. In my clinical experience, there are almost always signs, but they are often quiet and they are easy to explain away, just as teenage behaviors. So one of the most common one, and I'm going to give at least 3 or 4 common ones, is withdrawal. Pulling away from friends, family activities that they used to love. Not just dramatic withdrawal, but slowly and gradually, you would see that they are losing interest. That is one huge telltale sign that if you're a parent, if you're a carer, if you're anybody in that position where you have the care of a teenager, you don't need to let it slip, or you don't overlook that. Look into it, probe, investigate, not being in their faces, but come up with your own way of trying to, activate your inquisitivity as a parent, just to find out what exactly is going on. And that would be, you try to gradually goad them and get them into opening up to you. If they don't want to even open up to you, get a trusted source so that they can open up to them. So one of the most common signs is withdrawal. The second one is changes in either sleep or appetite.
Okay.
They are either sleeping all day or they're barely sleeping at all. Either sleeping all day, staying up on their gadgets all night, engaging in playing games, all these amazing, wonderful social media, I would say, platforms that we have, including their game console. They can easily connect with people on there, and you don't know who they are chatting with. So when there are significant changes in their sleep and appetite patterns as well, please look into it. Giving things away. The third, I'd say, warning sign to families, teachers, friends, or anybody who actually have these young kids or who engage with these young kids, giving things away. Possession that matter to them all of a sudden becomes nothing to them. They mean nothing to them, so they start giving them away. Oh, I'm not interested. Oh, I just don't care. I don't care. I'm going to give this away. I don't care. I'm not interested in this. And I take it. Sometimes with unusual goodbyes. These are warning signs. A sudden sense of calm after a period of distress. You know that you have to ride your emotions out. This one catches families out a lot, because we look as if, and most people, most families, parents that look like you and myself, we are always quick to say we have prayed and the problem is solved. So we prayed, pastor prayed, everybody prayed for you, and we
left it aside, outside,
exactly. It can look like an improvement, but sometimes it's a means. It's a means to a decision that they are either making or they are confirming. So we need to be very, very careful when there is that sudden sense of calm after a period of distress. Yes.
Okay. I want to ask this question. Now that I know you mentioned withdrawal, changes in appetite, sleeping appetite, and all that.
A sudden, talking about being a burden, like phrases like I'd be better off, or you'd be better off without me, or you don't care about me, or nothing about me matters, nobody cares about me. These should never be dismissed as attention-seeking behaviors. Honestly, that is what we do. Hey, you're so dramatic. Now, my mother didn't even do that to me. How do you expect? Unfortunately, we brought them up here. Like I keep saying this all the time. If I had my own way, I would have packed my bags, and I would be also with my own, family, eating organic food. I also have a family room, regardless of how old I am. Every time I go to my mother's house, my room is there. You understand?
Of course, our room is always there where you get home.
It's always there. So I want to also sometimes go and sleep in my room where I won't think about bills. I won't think about anything. I also, however, that is not being the case. That is not the case. So unfortunately, we have to deal with these stuff. And then they didn't ask to be born here, and they are here, and we can't just leave them. We owe them. We owe them that guardianship, and we owe them all the respect that. So we just have to work with them. But let's not try to let them see themselves as if they are a burden to us. No, they never have and they never will be. We need to deal with ourselves and we need to help them, find themselves whilst they're also dealing with their problems. So we should be very, very tactical and careful how we word and we say stuff, especially with these children that have been born in this certain, developed countries. They've never they've never known how to suck Gary and granuts.
And
But they don't know that.
But let me say something. Even this discussion as well, I've had stories from children from other countries as well that have these issues as well, and they will just go jump and do whatever and say that they are things are, they are not happy anymore. The whole thing is going on. And some children, when they look at their family background as well, maybe parents argue with each other. So it's not only even in United Kingdom. And one thing I want to ask earlier on is that, now when summer break, isn't it? The children are on holiday. Should parents be worried when they see their kids and the changes in sleeping pattern? Now they say we're on holiday, we can wake up anytime, we can sleep anytime. So should we be worried about that changing in pattern?
Strange you should ask that, because I was asking that on my live stream this morning. Yeah, I did ask. I did ask. And the answer to this is we need to have, I would say, there's always boundaries that we need to set and a certain scope within which we can operate. You either give a little extra or you add or you take away from. But at this moment in time, if they're not coming down straight first thing in the morning to finish all the food in the fridge, it's a blessing in disguise. So, however, this is my message to families or anybody in a guardianship position with children. You don't need to be a clinician to notice sudden distinctive changes.
Yes, yeah.
You need to know your child, and you would definitely know if something feels different. And that is what we call the gut feeling or the sixth sense. And don't do away with that. Right from when they are babies, you would attest to the fact that you would know the cry, which means it is just needing changing. You would know the tone for their cry, which means they need feeding. Or you would know the cry, which shows anger, danger. There are certain squeals, they will scream right now, you would drop everything, and then you would attend to the child because you can tell that sixth sense that this is danger. And that never goes away. It will never, my mom was telling me, it would never go away. It doesn't matter how old your child gets.
True.
There are certain things when you feel them in your guts. That is what God is giving us,
Yeah.
And please don't turn that off. If your sixth sense is not on, kindly find what you can do to turn it back on, because that helps with everything that we do when we are looking out for them.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So the next question for us is how have social media, cyberbullying, academic pressure, and economic uncertainty changed the mental health landscape of young adults today or young people today?
Honestly, it has changed the whole volume and the escapability of pressure. Everything, cyberbullying, academic pressure, social media, and economic uncertainty has changed it by basically changing the volume, because everything is magnified now due to the social media space we found ourselves in. Everything is magnified. In as much as social media is good and it's got its good side, the downsides are also very dark, and we can't neglect that.
True.
When somebody is being bullied in the cyberspace, it's so horrific. And it could take, I don't know, it takes a strong, serious intervention for you to actually do that. When we were growing up, if we were bullied at school, home was refuge.
Yeah, true.
You know that after school, at least I can come home. I can, be with my parents, my siblings, my cousins, whatever.
Your
It's not the case
grandparents.
any longer. Cyberbullying follows the young person into their bedroom,
Wow.
anywhere they find themselves. So it's very, very difficult for them to switch off when they are
Mm,
going through that due to this social media thing that we have.
mm,
Social media has also industrialized comparison. Young people are measuring their ordinary lives against everyone else's highlights and reels.
mm.
We see these perfect bodies. When when that when I'm on my TikTok face, this is not how my face looks because I have filters. So you'll be saying,
Yeah,
this woman looks like she's 18 years. No, I put
exactly.
filters on.
You're telling us your secret now.
And that is true. That is the truth. And at least I know and I understand where I
Mhm.
am. You understand that? But
Yeah,
these young
true.
children don't. They are measuring their bodies and everything else to somebody's filtered reels, filtered
Mm,
highlights, and all that.
exactly.
As a matter of fact, you see these perfect bodies. No, the bodies are
Mm-mm.
not perfect. They're filters.
The filters there, true.
Even we can whiten our teeth,
Are we
we
writing
can
your
change the
TikTok?
contours of our eyes. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the realism of what we're dealing with right now. So
Mm,
they are under a lot of pressure. We
mm,
could easily cut it off when we were being bullied and we got home
mm.
because we didn't have phones then. We didn't have access to social
Ve-
media. And there
very true.
wasn't all these pictures and all these reels and posts and
Selfie.
everything that's, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all these things. No, but we are seeing them. We're seeing them. And there is that false element. That's why I said this thing with social media
Mm,
is actually affecting not only young children, but every
mm.
single person, regardless of your age, because we are used to looking at these reels and these false highlights
Mm,
and wanting to always compare them to what we are dealing with.
mm.
And we
True.
should learn that, listen, there is a fine line between what is real and what isn't real. There is a
Mm,
fine line between this escapism of social
mm.
media that we found ourselves in. And if we're
Yes.
trying to blur these two lines, we would always have a problem.
Mm,
That constant comparison would always feed into anxiety, low self esteem, hopelessness. I don't look pretty. I'm
mm,
ugly. My family is not rich. You see, it's horrific what is being portrayed on social media. The
mm.
unrealistic stuff. I've gone through my own fair share, Mama. When I joined this whole social media thing a year ago, and you come on as I would say as an affiliate marketer, and somebody would have a banner. Oh, I earned 5,000 in 2 weeks,
Weeks.
or earned six figures. Ditch your regular 9 to 5. What is all that?
Mm. And that has caused a lot of people trouble.
It
And
is.
that's why I like your TikTok, because I love the way, sometimes when you're on that platform, I love the way you talk, to encourage people. And I like people to be real. So see, a lot of people are not real, and that's why people are falling victim of this suicide issue. You understand? Because if we're just talking about identity with my young adult, I call them, or young person, university student. But what am I trying to say is that you have to know who you are yourself. You have to know your identity. You have to like you. You have to be you.
Thank you.
Because when you be you, you like you. Yes, challenges of life will come. You might lose your job, you might not have money, but you still be happy within yourself. You still like the way you look. Either I go on TikTok and filter my face or not. I don't even filter my face anyway. Baby TikTok did not even give me.
Oh God, I love my filters for the love of it, because I'm like, this is me. Is this really me? I wish I were that younger. But
Exactly.
and it's that bit, but that is the thing I'm talking about, the realism, and then
Mm,
the also the inaccuracy that we have on here, and
mm,
wanting to translate that to be your real self. There is
yeah,
a conflict. So there's a
it is.
huge conflict that it takes some. That is why you say I'm all about self-awareness.
Mm,
That is why I am, and I would be probably the first person to champion this globally, because I
mm,
listen to so many people a lot. But the issue of self-awareness and being you
being you.
is missing. It's
Yeah.
missing. Let me say this thing here. Academic pressure is real and measurable, Mama. And the
Mm-hmm.
Office of National Statistics data even suggests suicide rates among young people, you know, running higher, like I said, around the summer and exam season. And
Mm,
economically, this is a generation being told to work hard for a future that they are not sure of what, honestly, with the way things are going, who can actually predict what is going to happen in the next 5, 10 years?
we don't.
But we're actually telling them to work hard for such things. Look at the
Mm,
way rising cost of living and everything is shooting up.
it's too much.
Insecure work. Who is
Mm,
actually guaranteed that certain roles are going to be available?
mm,
But we're wanting them to go into education, formal education, get a certification, which wouldn't be relevant. And we think
exactly.
they don't think about these things. They do. Look
They
at the
do.
cost of housing.
Mm,
How and when? How many of us have got that generational wealth where we can pass substantive amount on to our kids and say, listen, once you come out of school, take this amount, add on to it, get your first
mm,
property, live peacefully, and then around
and
90%
that's
of
it.
young people report worrying about earning enough to support themselves, let alone
Mm.
start buying.
Not even to talk
Hopelessness.
of university loan. Look at the Ujama, a lady I was reading Times, there was the last, no, 2 years ago. A lady has a debt of 250,000, that amount can buy a property.
Yeah, before
I
they've
was
even
like,
started life. How can you start life with such amount of debt? And we don't expect these pressures to affect them. We
it
want them
does.
to live magically through this phase. I beg your hearty pardon. They are worried.
Mhm.
We are, is it our fault? I can't really say. Hopelessness about the future is one of the strongest, I would say, psychological risk factors we know of. And unfortunately, with everything that we're experiencing now, is exacerbating the condition on a day-to-day basis.
True,
It's
true.
exacerbating the condition on a day-to-day basis. So this is a huge conundrum that you and I would have to, we can't avoid, but try as much as possible to have a lot of mitigating circumstances and come up with some realism to keep our young people grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good one. So, is loneliness becoming one of the biggest hidden threats to
Yes.
young people's mental well-being, and
Yeah.
how can we or can community address it?
Yes. Thank you so very much. Loneliness is one of the biggest hidden treasures, and I call it
Mm-hmm.
hidden because it's disguised. This is the
Mm-hmm.
most digitally connected generation in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
However, is one of the loneliest as
Mm-hmm.
well. A young person can have over 2 million followers and not one person they could call at 2 a.m.
Imagine, that's another thing. That's a good point. That's a good point.
So yes. And so loneliness matters clinically because connections are protective.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling that you belong somewhere, that someone would notice you if you weren't there. That
Mm.
is genuinely a protective factor against this unaliving or suicidal conversation we're having here. When belongingness disappears and a young person starts to believe that I'm a burden, no one would miss me, that is a strong recipe for disaster. So what happens is you have so many followers, but you're not close to anybody. You can't really physically see anybody. How can I get somebody to give me a hug through the digital device? Oh, I need a hug. And no. So communities can address, we can start looking into how we and let me just state this here, Mama. Parents shouldn't take kids being on devices as they are occupied or they are satisfied.
That's true. That's very true.
Because what we've seen most of the time is let's give them the iPad so they can watch some YouTube clips. As young as they are, I know. And then they sit on this iPad, watch YouTube after YouTube after YouTube after YouTube, and we think that they are connected. No, this is where the whole thing starts. Some of us are also not parenting the right way, where we create that connection, where we have that interaction. We need to reassess our parenting skills now. Don't leave the kids with the iPad and assume they are occupied, please, or they are connected. That is not connection at all. We need to create back these connections that we have. Sunday school, go out, ride your bike, go into the park, go with them into the park. Let's go to the play, I would say the play sessions, the play communities. Not leave them with iPads. Let's start creating this human interactive and connectivity with them before they start isolating them on your devices. It's very important that we do that. We have to create spaces, places that aren't home and they aren't school, where young people are known by their names, youth groups, sporting activities, faith communities. Put them into mentorship groups or mentoring groups. Intergenerational connection matters too. Young people need adults in their corner who aren't their parents to have that connection with. And within families, let's prioritize presence over present. Like I said, regular unhurried phone downtime. What are you doing? I shared this here, and one of my cousins was sharing with me as well. When one of my nieces was doing their exams, they were so lonely because every single time they came home, they thought they had failed their paper.
Oh.
And imagine you leaving them, going to sit on a live stream, go and do TikTok live, whilst your daughter is worried. Where is your priority? So,
you see, this one you mentioned now is a big deal. I see people on social, especially this TT. I call it, I know my son, when I say TT, my son will say, Mommy, no, because somebody used to call it TT, just to shorten it TikTok. You see, I'll see some people 8 hours streaming online, 8 good hours. And sometimes I'll be telling myself that I don't understand. Majority of people I know a lot of people are taking it as a full-time, because anyway, I'm still coming for your own mentorship as
you're very welcome,
Let me see how we're going to make money.
You're very welcome,
8 hours, I will sit down and say to myself, even sometimes I've got so much to do, and I've not even finished what I'm going to do. Now sitting on the screen for 8 hours. Talking. And I know, it's fun, people come, and I'll be wondering, and this is Monday till Friday. Even some people do Monday till Sunday.
7 days.
Because when people come to your own life, you have to go to their own too to encourage them. Me, when I go to community, I'll tell them, Emma Binu, sorry, don't be angry. Hey, na my language, Emma Binu. Me, just a little bit, just encourage, and that's it. But they'll say, how can you be the community? But this is part of it, because when we spend so much And not people, a lot of people have used it as their income. I mean, Monday to Friday, which is good if you don't have a job and it's giving you money. I've had a lot of people are making millions on TT. I want to see how it works anyway. But what I'm trying to say is that you mentioned priority. And one thing you mentioned, you said, we have 100,000 followers. These followers, how many people can you call? When you're lonely. I remember early 2000, there is this one of my friend in the church. Anytime she traveled to the States, the time different. So anytime she traveled to the States, she comes back. When she comes back to UK, she will call me around 1 a.m. for me to be gisty, because it's me that love to talk. And I said to her, next time you are going to the States, just book my own ticket too. So that when we come back, the time zone will be, so you cannot go and enjoy. And that is true. We need to see, when we're going through situation of life, at least there should be somebody to talk to out there. I know African people, my sister, that, sometimes even when you tell people your story, it's all over the social media. So sometimes people keeping to themselves, we can't blame them that much. But having said that, there are still some people we can trust that, at least this is my friend. If I'm feeling this way, I can give her a call. We can have a chat. And that is how it should be. You understand? That is how it should be. Absolutely. So do you still want to contribute to the question, or should I just go on with my
No, the only thing I just wanted to add is, like you just said, like I mentioned earlier, having over 2 million followers, and there isn't one single one that you can call. Belonging is built in small, repeated moments, not grand gestures. So when you have small groups, and then you are within small communities, you have places where, if it's a sporting group, if it's a faith group, if it's a youth group, if it's a mentoring group, any of those things, even if it's families where they connect with their cousins and stuff like that, build those small repeated, I would say, moments, rather than neglecting everything, and then one moment you say, let's do this big thing.
Let's do this.
We have to, we keep preaching about consistency, and sometimes I'm like, how wrong are we? Why is it that we get just one word and where everybody's running with it? You need to be consistent. Consistency isn't something that you do for business. Consistency runs through every single thing you do, right from the moment you wake up to the time you retire to bed, and then you wake up and you repeat it. So you need to be consistent with your morning rituals. You need to be consistent with how you eat, your diet. You need to be consistent with your thought patterns, consistent with the way you support your children, consistent with the way you show up, present for whatever you do, consistency in your job role. Consistency isn't be consistent for your business. Show up. No. Consistent in how you manage and you bring your children up. Consistent in the rules and the regulations you set, the boundaries you set in the household. That consistency isn't just a one thing for just I have to be consistent in weight loss, so I need to start being consistent here, or I need to start being consistent. No, consistency is, we can't take consistency out of whatever we do on a daily basis. And the earlier we need to learn and know and incorporate this, the better it is going to be for us all. That is the little I wanted to add on to that, Mama.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Schools are often where young people spend most of their time. What practical measures should schools implement to identify and support students who may be at risk?
Thank you so very much, Mama. Schools are our best early warning system. And most of the young people who die by suicide were not under mental health services, but they were in schools. At least they had a place where they went, and we were expecting people to at least notice something, and then they would have reported it However, you can never ever tell. Some of these things just run under the radar. So the only thing I would recommend for schools are train all staff, not just pastoral leads, in basic mental health awareness. Like I said, I used to work in the school. So the PE teacher and the receptionist can recognize when a warning sign or when something is showing up, and know the referral route. That is also, I believe that the way the world is going right now, all staff, not just the pastoral ones, should be trained in basic mental health awareness so that they can recognize these telltale signs. I quite remember during my time as well, that was when we're trying to get to diversity and trying to recognize kids who were, wanting to present as they were males but wanting to be females. And we had all that training. So I think it's about time now that all staff members, like I said, not just the pastoral team, we don't have to wait for those pastoral services, but all staff should have the basic mental health awareness so that they're able to identify and recognize warning signs and then act accordingly. The second one is a clear, fast internal pathway. Any member of staff can raise a concern today and know exactly who act on it and when. So after the training, we don't just leave it there. There should be a clear pathway for referral so that when people are referred, they get the feedback. The staff members know exactly what happens after the referral. Also, there is one thing here, which I was discussing with one of my colleagues the other time, and we thought it would be a nice opportunity for us to escape nursing, but I'm not sure if that would work or not. Universal well-being education, teaching all peoples about emotional literacy, coping skills, and how to help a friend so that, help seeking becomes normal rather than exceptional.
It's true.
So that one as well would actually deploy a whole lot of us so we can go in and then we now start talking about your emotions, how you handle emotions, coping skills. At some point, I thought there was something called life skills, but I don't really know what happened to it. So, yeah. There's also one element where schools, which I know they always deal with anyway, but attendance and behavior data used as a well-being data. A sudden drop in attendance or grades should be flagged up, not as a discipline issue, but as something that they would investigate to see if there are any other underlying conditions. These are just suggestions for schools. Obviously, extra vigilance around exam season and transitions should also be considered. What else? I think sometimes people should know exactly which adults and which room to go without an appointment. So obviously, if I'm struggling, I feel anxious, I'm not coping really well. I shouldn't, when I was teaching, people would have to put up some rather silly behaviors and then we take them somewhere and then somewhere. But I think that with the way the world is going right now, children should know that if I'm struggling, I could walk straight in here and I could see somebody and speak to them about what my worries are. Finally, I would say prevention plans, because after any death in a school community or any death among any young people, within a confined group, it would naturally elevate or heighten their emotions.
Yeah.
So we need a safe space and we need to address them. These are, I would say, preventative things, where we would preempt. We know that this is the outcome. It's terrific. It's awful. Definitely, there are certain people who could or who were friends and they might struggle. So can we rather do that rather than put a plan in place to address that rather than leave it and then probably start improvising when we see people just. So these are just some common things that I would want to bring to bear for schools to look into.
Those are good points. Trust me, those are good points. Thank you. There's a question coming to me, and based on because I have one or two few teachers as well. You see, you've mentioned it, which is the responsibility of the schools, which is very good. But what about parents that pick up fight with teachers? I mean, thank God you said you're a teacher before. What about parents that pick up child with teachers and say, oh, your son or your daughter, is trying to be lonely, is not mixing, is not this. No, 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 it's not all. They mention similar issue or something that they think that, oh, I think this guy is being bullied, or this guy is stressed, he has a panic issue and all that. But the parent pick up and say, God forbid. Africa now, when they say something, instead of them to, we will pray. It's not that we're not going to pray, but action. They say, God forbid, not my son, not my daughter, until things get worse. What do you think the school should do in that case? Or what do you want to advise such parents when the school pick up an attitude from a child?
Thank you so much, Mama. That is a very difficult question. However, the first thing I would say is some parents need reorientation. And sometimes, let me put this analogy here and you will laugh, Mama. I'm not sure at what point did you start or did you stop converting your salary when you relocated into the United Kingdom, into your local.
I think some people did that some point, I remember, the uncle I was staying with that time, the first time he took me to a shop in Wood Green. I want to get a trouser, because it was summertime. I said winter time. I came in October. So the winter is already coming. But the trouser was £10. I quickly calculated it in Nigeria. And he said something to me. He said, how long are you going to be doing? How long are you going to be calculating the amount of things you want to spend on yourself? So go on. So
that is exactly the point I'm trying to drive at, Mama. Unfortunately, some of us would never come to terms that we are in a new environment and certain things aren't done the way we knew. So we need reorientation in here, to be honest, so that we can understand where we are and how things work and how things function. The mere fact that your child is being told to access some form of therapeutic intervention or go into a group that would help them do this or that doesn't mean the child is not normal. So we need a lot of what is the word?
Reorientation.
That was the word I used.
Reorientation. Yeah.
We need it, Mama. We do. And it's because when somebody comes at you with that, you would clearly know that it is lack of knowledge. You would clearly know.
I've had a teacher before that a parent slapped her because she was saying something that the son was not. This is the way the son is behaving in class, and the lady slapped the teacher.
Yeah, and it's rather unfortunate, and my heart goes out to such a teacher, but no teacher or no facilitator or no person who works in a capacity with young children, when you're coming up with I would say a suggestion, should be subjected to that. It's the least you can do is just walk away. Oh, be polite. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll look into it and then walk away. But you don't have to resort to physical assault or verbal abuse or all those kind of things that we do. And when that happens, like I said, I know it's clearly lack of knowledge. It could be nothing or it could be something. And as long as you're open-minded about it, and as long as you also consider that point of view, it's going to help both yourself and your child.
Oh,
so we need to think about how we can reorientate ourselves into this new environment we found ourselves. And then we need to make sure that we are helping our children because they are born here. This is where they are from. You were born there. You are from over there. They're not from there with you. They're not from there with you. They never knew you when you were there.
When you go and fetch water, when there is no, when the tap is not running,
Well,
or when the NEPA took light.
Where, like I said, where I also have my own room inside my own mama's house. You
Exactly.
understand? Where we used to stay in the rooms where there was three of us laying on mats and doing. They never knew us there. It's
True.
up to us to expose them over there. But we are here. We have brought them here, and we owe it to them to know where they are, so we can support them thrive where they are. But we can't say, you know me. We can't do that. That doesn't help. So all I'm suggesting is, please, mamas and papas, anybody in that position, you don't have to accept everything they tell you, but you should be gracious, and you should also look into it yourself.
Rate yourself.
Look into it yourself. Look into it yourself. Like I said, ask the questions. Ask the questions. Some of us don't tend to speak to our children, especially when it becomes so difficult for them to communicate. But you need to come up with ways where you're not the mama who is regimented. You're not that disciplinarian. You are boundaried, but they should be comfortable sharing stuff with you. I'm not sure. There's a content that I watch on TT, the Osho family, and this young girl and the brothers, they always wind their father up. They always.
My kids said to me one day, they will wind me up. Just what they call it.
They always wind their dad up, and it's so he falls for it. And you will see that this is a typical stacking way where he's like, and I'm like, no, look at what they're doing. They're just trying to wind you up. So don't take it serious, because they also understand. Strangely enough, Mama, our kids understand where we come from.
It's true.
They tend to understand us more than we understand them. And if we could only do that, we could balance it, it would be very good for us. So that is my only thing I would say. We need reorientation. Some of us have got so many conditions that we're masking around, and we haven't delved into it. It needs to be delved into as well. So yes, Mama.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And as you're just talking, I was just thinking about, the way we can bottle something within our mind. Look at the way our parents, those days, the way they would talk to us. Even when you don't do well in class, you say, is it not somebody that came first in your class? How come you score 15 in the class? How come you were number 20? But yeah, we can cry. I know some kids those days, some kids are really bad too. They would tear their report sheet, they won't take it home. But that doesn't allow them to go and commit suicide,
Exactly.
May God help us.